I think the word has gotten a bad rap. I think the place needs some help. And then there is the effort itself, the physics of it need to be respected. But I'm of the opinion that work allows us it's paid practice if we do that.
There's a difference between a dream chaser and a dream catcher.
Thanks all for tuning in to Dreamcatchers, where we make things happen. Dreamcatchers was formally launched to unlock the hidden potential in successful, self-motivated individuals who desire to take their life's work to the next level but need support to evolve. We are a collective group of professionals with various backgrounds that use our talents to assist those individuals in realizing their wildest dreams by providing education, inspiration, and direction. This podcast is where we share the lessons we've learned along the way to catching our dreams and give you some context around the how and the why to each approach to put you further ahead on the journey to catching your dream. Are you ready?
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dreamcatchers podcast. I'm your host, Jerome, Chief Inspiration Officer at Dreamcatchers. And I've got Dan Rogers in with me today. He's out in Washington. Is it raining there today? Doesn't it rain there every day?
It doesn't rain every day, but it is raining. It was raining an hour ago for sure. Yeah.
Man, so it's funny how the world works, right? Justin Breen introduced us to people, and then we were spending time with those people, and we end up here on this beautiful day. And so I heard Dan on Anthony Trucks' podcast, and I said, Dan, you're going to come on my show at some point one day, possibly? And here he is. And you guys, when we get into this conversation, you'll understand why it was important for me to get Dan on the show. So Dan, welcome in, man. Thanks for making some time for us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it's my privilege to be able to roll with guys like you and Anthony. I mean, those are two extraordinary human beings. So it's my pleasure.
So the listeners, we do things a little unconventional. They're going to love what you have to say. What's the way that they can get in contact with you after they go on this journey with us today?
They can just reach out on LinkedIn, Dan T. Rogers, and they'll find me. And if they message me there or whatever, I'd love to talk to anybody. I reserve the right to learn more than them. That's all.
You'll find out through this conversation that Dan is a very humble man, but he's got a tremendous skill set. And so, Dan, I like to always go back to kind of the inception story, man. You are what I would describe as a renegade, right? So let's talk about your journey over, let's call it the past 20 years. Like, did you have a job? How'd you get out here and start doing your own thing? Because you are somebody who I truly believe has exited the matrix.
Yeah, no, I am. So to keep it reasonably succinct, in 1994, I had a life that afforded me more money than I could spend. Now, I could have spent it in a weekend, but my wants were so small and my life was so small that I just had a positive balance, right? But I'd never been more miserable in my life. And so in that moment, it became crystal clear that all the stuff that I was chasing wasn't going to answer what I wanted it to answer. And by the grace of the universe, or what I would refer to the boss, I got put in touch with some people. Made some major life changes and did a whole bunch of other things. And this put me on a path that put me in touch with some basic principles that, as I attempt to continue to this day to apply those in my life, they just provide total, complete magic. Like that's really what happened. And I went from having more money than I can spend, again, could have spent it in a weekend, but it was more than I could spend, to working for $6 an hour, rolling burritos, happier than I'd ever been in my entire life. And nothing had changed. In fact, I had less money, obviously, but I was so incredibly happy. And I said to a mentor at the time, I just said, I can't believe that I'm getting paid to practice these principles that you're telling me are going to save my life. And he said, Dan, if you continue to hold that mindset, you'll never work another day in your life. And what I say is like, look, I've worked more than I want to cop to. Right? I like to say that I never worked another day, that I held that mindset, but I've been paid for a hell of a lot more than I've worked based on that. And that put me on a path that put us here. Yeah, that's what really did it. Yeah.
So All right, they're asking, I'm asking,
Mm.
what are these principles? It sounds like Mr. Miyagi and
Yeah.
Daniel's son, right?
Wax on, wax off. Yeah,
Roll the
totally.
burrito, don't roll the burrito.
Yeah.
Talk to me, man. What are we talking about?
Yeah. So essentially, so I am a proud member, a proud but humble member of an anonymous fellowship. Uh, uh, and those principles, the core principle there was that I'm not the center of the universe. If there is a center of the universe, it's best to align to it. And so the primary principle was stop acting like you're in charge, play your proper role, and align up. And as I attempted to just as I continued to sort of try to attempt to align up instead of getting people to line up behind you, right? Line up, align up, and that's really the core principle. Is I'm trying to, as best I can, work on my inner alignment, and then external alignment with the rest of the universe as best I can. And that's really what the principles are. It's just staying as close to that as I can. And obviously that's a second to second deal, man. Like it's not, you know, if it ever gets fully lined up, it's it's gone the second you realize it is. But that journey is the fun part.
So it sounds like it's about submission, but what are you submitting to? I know you're going to say the boss, but
Yeah.
how do you know if you're in submission
Mm-hmm.
to the boss?
Yeah. So here's I like submission. I like surrender. Uh, Look, I think those are accurate words, and I've used I didn't use submission a lot, but I'll probably use it going forward. But I've used surrender a lot. To me, it's also just the acceptance of the truth. Like, I mean, when I was 24 when I first really started trying to do all this stuff, but at 24 I had a little bit more juice and a little bit more physical power, right? But the reality is that like the universe is significantly larger than me. Like it's not even it's a joke that I think I can outrun reality. Like it's so when we talk about surrender, I'll deal with this later, maybe in this conversation. So again, I speak from this dead center of the mud puddle on this, but the idea that I'm surrendering something is actually the lie itself. If I ever really had control, Jerome, and we know each other a little bit, and I like you more than a lot of other people, man, I'd give you a day off or a half day off, but not many. Like if I ever had it, right? I tell myself I have it, I act like I had it, but if I ever had it, why would you give it up? It's the illusion, the delusion that I'm in control, that I'm surrendering, right? It's actually accepting reality. Hey, man, on every continuum, time, matter. I mean, like we're just not even specks, man. Right? So it's like surrender. But I'm right there with you because you spent time with me to know that like I've got a very healthy ego and delusions of grandeur and all that other stuff. Right. But it's laughable, man. It's laughable. We're not surrendering. We're actually just accepting what reality is. Yeah.
But I think what you would describe your pre-burrito
Yeah.
days as is you trying to impose your will on the environment and those things within the environment, which for a lot of us means that it's control. So
Yeah.
where do we, this is going to be great. Here we go, guys.
Yeah.
Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because this is about to go. All right. So where is it that we actually get this clarity that we're not in control because we're trying to impose our will on other things, or we're imposing our will, at least we think we are?
Yeah, and I have to say this for my ego. Like there are coworkers on the other side of the wall, and there are people in my life that will tell you that I am still trying to impose my will. Like there's no question, man. Right. But at my best, I have found that the three most powerful words that I personally possess are I don't know. There's possibility and I don't know. And so I've got a couple different things that I'll do to try to sort of cleanse sort of just the knowingness, sort of the certainty, and really more just aligning with the certainty of this is my belief. No one has to sign up for it. Like I think that I like to think of it as a system. I think it's a ridiculously perfect closed system. And that if I just want to align to that, that it's already all provided for. everything I could possibly think of has already been accounted for. It's already been factored in. I may or may not agree with it, but it's already been accounted for, right? And so to me, it's really more the letting go of certainty or knowledge or of that stuff. And then from that, slightly less, cluttered slate, then it can be like, I think there's two lists, and there's one very long list, and that's the boss's list. And then there's a short list that I still procrastinate on, which is Dan's list. And I wouldn't say that I can control it, but they're the things that I'm sort of responsible for. And there's some things that I can have an impact on. Right. And I think, like when we talk about like personal power, physical power or whatever, like I have some, but not enough to cover the full check. Right. So like I could move a couple chips around on the board, but not enough to get them all lined up. And even if I can't keep them lined up. Right. So it's just sort of that, but I'm also a big fan of mistakes at full speed. Right. And full speed isn't as fast as we can go. It's the proper speed based on where we're at. And then regular, I try to do a daily review, then a review of, okay, how'd we do? Oh, wow. Got some stuff to either go fix or like, let's not do that anymore. But otherwise it's just analysis by paralysis. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But when in doubt, it's just like, where can I be helpful? And there's always somebody to help. And that my experience has been, it's a miracle when I act on it, but it's still my experience is that just sort of asking, where can I be helpful or what can I do to be helpful? That is, I cannot think of a time where that wasn't more constructive and positive than what other great idea I had. And you and I are not dumb guys. There's a lot of really bright, capable people out there. It's not that our ideas are bad. Some of them are good. It's just in that moment, the system might need you to do something else than act on your silly little idea, Dan. Like that's been my experience. Yeah. But it's a second deal. And hopefully somewhere along the way when I'm trying to impose my wills and I'm living under that delusion of control, I sort of wake up and go, wow, I'm creating a lot of chaos here. Maybe it's time to back up and see about how we can be useful instead of forceful. Yeah.
Useful instead of forceful. Whoa. That's a beautiful concept. So you said I'm creating a lot of chaos. Maybe I need to back up. Mm-hmm. Is us creating chaos always a negative thing?
Well, what I would say is my opinion is the boss uses all the game pieces, the box, the wrapper, the table, like it's all in play. So chaos has to be part of the plan, but so it's sort of been accounted for. There's a lot of different tools in the tool chest, and I'm probably a little bit more of a disruptive tool for the boss than some, for sure. But I think the difference is have I left any room to be directed, or am I acting on my own certainty? And it's all been accounted for. I'm not big on good or bad. It's beyond my pay grade to figure that out. But I feel cleaner, and there's less for me to go fix when the chaos that's being created is directed than when it's all Dan driven. There's some cleanup that's required at the, cleanup in aisle 9 is required after that one. Right. So it's yeah.
Breaking things, Tasmanian devil or bull in the China shop.
Yeah. Pushing is what I do. Like, the universe is a pull system. I believe that. And it's just me pushing. Like that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. You're dropping in these little, I don't even know what to call them. Maybe I call them quotes. I'm not sure, but you said leaving room for direction versus acting out of your own certainty. Mm-hmm. Most people don't want to do anything until they're certain. And you're saying that there's action to be had in the unknowing. Mm-hmm. Give me more, Dan. You tried to skip over that. You just kind of sprinkled it in and moved on. Yeah. This is a whole meal right here by itself.
Yeah. So again, this is just based on me constructively reviewing my own stuff. Right. Look, there are people that show up better, that their best, when they show up at their best self, it expresses themselves wildly different than when I show up at my best self. So for me, when I'm showing up at my best self, the certainty is only enough just to get the ball rolling. Um, what will be, call it inspired or directed after that is significantly better than my ideas. And it's not that my ideas suck. Some of them are fantastic, quite frankly, but like what actually gets produced when we leave ourselves open for the rest of what comes is way better. And I for me personally, the only time that, I mean, within reason, I mean, there's times like when it's actually really required because, there's some technical thing or, maybe there's safety issues or something like that. But if we're just talking about just sort of moving through time and space in life, the only time I want certainty is when I know what I want to do and I just don't want to do it. Like, I mean, and I try to keep things super simple, right? So like, I, I don't even really like driving. I'm semi decent at it. For as long as I'm doing it, I'm probably considered a bad driver. I mean, I'm not reckless and stuff, but I don't really much care for it. But I want to move around. I can't stand putting gas in my car. You know what I mean? It's a complete pain in my ass. It's never convenient, all that stuff. And I'm not a mechanical guy, so I don't understand how a car works, right? Like, but 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 when I show up with my car needing to be fixed, they don't ask me what's wrong with it. Or if they do, it's just to amuse me, right? They understand that part, right? I don't need any certainty around like cars or mechanics because I just want the benefit, right? The benefit is so overwhelming. I don't need any certainty, right? And that is my experience with most things for my life. There's one thing to want deeper understanding, right? But when I personally am looking for certainty, it's usually because I don't want to do what I already know I'm supposed to do. And I'm using it as an excuse to, it's like the boss is like, hey, man, we need you over in the field lumping some rocks. And I'm like, well, I think I better figure out exactly what size rock it needs to be. And it's like, come on, just go move some rocks, man. Like, let's get real. So that's my experience with certainty most of the time. And I want to be respectful of, if you're on a tall building or something, like certainty's good, but my life is not filled with that level of peril most of the time, right? It's usually, it's usually not quite so treacherous.
You're making light of something that is really heavy. And I like your delivery because it's not forceful, but I'm going to be very forceful in the next statement because I don't want people to miss this. You're using uncertainty as an excuse not to do what you know you're supposed to. You're waiting for another piece of information when you know enough to begin and to accept the fact that more will be revealed to you on that journey than what you could ever have before you make the decision to go on that trip.
Mm-hmm.
You are sitting there not taking action because you're looking for the reason why you shouldn't do it. You're looking for your way out, and you're just waiting for it to appear, even though you're being beckoned to come do the task.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let Dan's delivery miss the real point, because this right here will change your life. I can still see multiple decisions that I made when I didn't have all the data, but I knew it was a place that I was supposed to go. And I found treasure greater than anything that I would have had I stayed in that place. Mm-hmm. And so even if the conditions don't look like they're totally conducive, and then you got to back me up here, you still have to go. I see that storm on the wall there beside you, big old lightning strike.
Yeah.
And I imagine there's some depth to that. So if you would, let's talk about that image there. It's got to have some significance if it's hanging in your space.
Yeah, no, I'll throw one other thing on what you just said too. So, I mean, that's why I embrace the mistakes at full speed. I mean, that same guy that told me I'd never work another day again, he dropped a lot of wisdom on me. He was like, if you saw the movie Kill Bill, like he would just like pull out the Kill Bill sword and just, and the cuts were so clean, man, they were so clean on my ego. He just like cut it in half. He's like, Dan, inaction is an action. It's just grossly ineffective. And that's, so it was like mistakes at full speed. Right. So again, take that for what it is. But yeah, no, yeah, it's easy to not want to do things or to be afraid or whatever, but I'd rather I'd rather be trying to fix a mistake that I made than miss the opportunity to be helpful at this point. But the image is the lightning. And I don't know, man. I definitely don't. I've been told too many times, so I've just sort of come to accept. I don't like think about things the way a lot of people do. But um, like I don't think that lightning is mysterious, right? Like where it strikes is mysterious, but like the environment that creates it is actually predictable. Like I've been in Seattle since '83, and recently we started having lightning and thunder. We never had it before, but we have it now. But they always predict it ahead of time. And so one of the things that I realized in my working career was, as I started capturing sort of like what the environment was for electric for success. And so I've got that, the copy off The Smartest Kid in Class. I was just like stockpiling like what are the attributes that make for a lightning rich environment, and then just writing them down and capturing them, all that. And that's what that one is. It's just a reminder. It's like, look, man, it ain't mysterious. Where it's going to hit is the boss's job, but like, it will not be a surprise when the lightning flashes. I mean, I'm fortunate. I got a lot of friends, and we'll be talking about where they're at. And I'm like, look, we know how this is going to play. The details will be fascinating and mind blowing, but like, we're not going to be surprised when the boss hits a dead on bullseye on this. We know that's what's coming. we just don't know where it is. Right. And then invariably, 2 months later, next week, whatever, they'll be telling me, I'm like, yeah, this is big surprise. Another lightning strike, another dead on bullseye. Right. But
so, you're the process guy, right? I mean, this is pattern recognition is so important when you're a senior leader in an organization. And so you've helped people out with sales. Can we tell the rest of the burrito story? Like, how did that end? Because you didn't roll burritos for $6 an hour forever.
Yeah. So I would borrow money to do that job. Now, I used to say I'd do it for free. I'd now borrow money to do that job. I started, we had three stores and like 11 employees. 3 of them were owners, and we didn't even have recipes, because as a standardized process and a systems guy, when Wendy makes the burrito, she uses 1 spoon for the beef. And when Johnny makes the burrito, he uses a tongs. Like, if you don't have a set portion, you don't have recipes. So I standardized the entire experience, all of it, like not first just the food, then the setup of the stores and all that. And by the time 2.5 years later, we had opened 60 stores and onboarded 7 franchise groups and central commissaries and all that. I was just the process guy that like took the crazy idea and then made it so we could replicate it. So I'm a systems guy more than anything else. And by the grace of the universe, they didn't, I asked what was in it for me. Eventually I said, I trust you guys. I wouldn't have done this if I didn't trust you. But like, at some point I just gotta, like, what's in it for me? And at the time I didn't really understand it. I loved them and respected them, but I didn't understand why they couldn't tell me. Then after running a couple of businesses, I got why they're like, we have no idea, man. We have no idea what's coming tomorrow. But I had been a furniture mover prior to that, and the moving company reached out and wanted to get me into sales. So I chased it. I went into sales, really just chasing unlimited commission. And I never really figured out how to sell anything. I was incredibly knowledgeable about what it took to move stuff around because I had done the job. But what I did is I would just help people figure out what they were trying to accomplish and how they could do it. And most of the time I would refer them to the right company that wasn't us. And then eventually bought that company, turned it into Point to Point. And then we've been working on that one for about 20 years now. And we finally, right before COVID, we got it to the best version of right we ever had, after hundreds of dozens of prototypes of just sort of tweaking it, where it's a pretty efficient system. It's not really, I don't know that it's a great business, but it's a damn good system. I mean, I say business only because businesses are set up differently than how we set up our company. It's all set up around the stuff that we've been talking about. Doing stuff for fun and for free, no strings attached, to being so good that people demand to pay you, like stuff like that. And that's not business. That's systems and having fun. So that's what we did at Point to Point.
Whoa. Wait. I need to drop a bomb. Right? You said doing stuff for free and people demanding to pay you. Where does that exist? How, tell me about the environment where that actually happens, because I think there are people out there trying to figure out how to get paid to be helpful to other people,
Yeah,
let
it's
alone.
backwards. I did it too, man. It's backwards. You help them first and then they pay you. Yeah. Or they don't. Someone pays you. Don't worry about it. Boss figures it out. Boss does the math. Yeah. So I can, if I can stay on point, I can tell the story linearly and it'll sort of make sense. All of it was just a work in process trying to report up, right? Just to line up is how all this worked. But um when I first got into sales, not to talk nonsense, it was what happened. I had a massive amount of success. I'm a fairly passionate dude. I was super credible because I knew how to drive the truck and load all the stuff. And that success actually taught me that I needed to really figure out how to sell, because we ended up closing a bunch of customers that didn't want what we had. And I had phenomenal customer service people. These were phenomenal people, and they'd get mad at our customers, and they're good people. And so it took me a little bit, but we figured out, it was like, oh, we've let the wrong people in. And so at that point, I don't know what I was doing prior to that. I was just like out talking to people. But at that point, I got really systematic, and it became an interview process to find out, to see if they sort of qualified to be our customer. I didn't talk to anybody that I knew I couldn't help. I mean, we were a specialized transportation company. They had big, fragile, gentle, stuff. I mean, we could help them. And so how we helped most of them was either, hey, this is how you should design your system internally. Oh, and these are the key people that you should work with that aren't us. Every once in a blue moon, we found somebody that actually really needed and wanted what we did, which was wildly different than what they wanted. Most people wanted. Most people just wanted somebody to, follow directions. Like what we were going to do, and what we did at Point to Point was, we'll design systems to fix all that stuff and to make it actually substantially better. Right. So in that process of trying to evaluate if they could be customers, you end up being really helpful to people, because you just sort of, you call it free consulting, call it the consultational approach, all that, but it's not like that when it's not even remotely driven by finances at all. I was a salesperson that had commission checks that he couldn't believe anyways. And I didn't want to piss off I was more concerned about pissing off my customer service people than I was about my commission check. Right. And so then when I bought the company, that's just how we set up the company. Again, it was perfect. We made all sorts of mistakes. We're fortunate to survive all the mistakes that we made, but we kept trying to tweak the systems and the processes to say, let's focus on being helpful first and worry about getting paid later. So we end up only working for the people that we're supposed to work for. Right. And when you do that, obviously the people that you just help, they frequently say nice things about you. And when you're only working for the people that really want what you have, that you can do great work for, they say great things about you too. And consequently, people say, can I be your customer? So we had tremendous growth going into COVID. We were on the Inc. 5000 7 years in a row, which is 7 years in a row. There's a couple companies in Washington that have done it, but it's a pretty decent accomplishment. And we didn't have salespeople, and we didn't do marketing. and so that's, but the whole idea was, let's try to help them first, and then we'll figure out if there's something in it for us later. In this one particular space, we are experts. And if they wanted to put in the legwork, they could be as smart and as capable as we are, but they have real jobs doing other things. So in this one space, we're sort of the experts. So let's advise them and serve them in that way. And then that doesn't always lead to they become a customer though. Like that's ridiculously arrogant to think that you're going to come in on a semi opportunity to be helpful, and it's all going to be stuff that you're really qualified to do. Right.
What's up, tribe? It's your host, Jerome. I just want to let you know that we put together a free 15-point checklist for exiting the matrix. Jump on over to dreamshouldbereal.com in order to pick your free copy up. Let's get back to the show.
They're confused right now.
Okay.
So you're saying that you would go in and help people figure out how to solve their problem at no fee.
Yeah.
And then solve the problem for them, not just give them a strategy, but potentially solve the problem. And then they would say, wait, how much do I owe you? Like, is that what's happening here? Or
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
there some part
So
in the process where there's actually an agreement and here's what we're going to do and so on?
So I've told this story before, but I'll stick to it because I think it made sense last time. And sometimes the stories don't always land. But so a while ago, way back when, but point to point days, a large video console company was our client, and they were doing this rollout of kiosks, retail kiosks, and it wasn't going well. And they were working with this very cool agency that does that sort of thing, design creative agencies. And the console company said to us, go fix this. It's broken, go fix it. And so based on where it was and what was happening or whatever, I showed up to fix it. And I met with these people, and I met with a highfalutin person in the company, and then the person that was in front of the console company. And there's like thousands of dollars of art on the wall, and they're super attractive. I mean, like, and I'm the bald freight guy. And we sit down, and I find out, they gave me a tour, and I asked what people did there and all that other stuff. And they started telling me sort of what their unique offering is in terms of how they see themselves. And then, all right, so tell me more about this program that you're doing for the video console or the video game company. And so we figured it out, and they're like, all right, so tell me what you're doing. And they were basically doing it right? But they just weren't doing the right things right. And in the tour and all that, they explained, all the services they offered. And based on that, it was obvious, because they had people on their payroll in their office doing work that our operations at Point to Point did. And you can't have two operations department. What we could do great for people was the work that we could do for people was, hey, we have all this work that requires all this operations, but we don't want to have core competencies in operations. But this agency, good, bad, right, or wrong, had made the decision that they want to be operationally strong, despite the fact they weren't having great results at the time. So I said to him, I said, look, I can train those people and I'll have somebody send the email templates, and we can tell you how to actually get a far better result, because you should be getting better results. But my guess is you're not interacting with the elephant that you're working with, the shipping companies that are working with. You're just not interacting with them right. We'll teach you how to interact. We'll teach you how to make them look better. And so we sent them down, I sent them down while I called ops on while we were in the meeting. And so it ended, and these two people are like, what just happened? And I said, they asked me to come fix it. We fixed it. Like, that's the fix. And the guy said to me, he's like, man, what's in it for you? He actually asked me, and this is the first time I ever copped to it in front of a real person. I had said the first half a bunch of times. This is the first time I ever said it to a person outside the company. I said, look, I only had one goal coming here today, is I just wanted you to think that we were a credible company and that we could be a credible resource. And on an individual level, I like to think that I'm the smartest guy you've ever met in shipping. That's my own goal. Right. Right. And that was the part that I copped to. The first half, I had owned 100. We just want to be a credible resource. That's it. Right. And the guy's like, well, mission delivered. And I said, yeah, do you trust us? And he's like, yeah. I said, and if you ran into something that this is what you really wanted, who are you going to call? And he's like, we're going to call you. I said, yeah, that's it. How do you lose in that? Right. But otherwise, had we worked with him, right, or that company, eventually our ops departments are either arguing with each other or trying to justify their existence. It just, I mean, they were never going to be our customer. So help them. We're not losing any business. It's not our business to have. Right. Right. Yeah. And when you do that on a regular basis, and the people around you in your company are doing that on a regular basis, you don't need salespeople. You don't need marketing. You don't need any of that stuff. Right. But it's just the right thing to do. Right. I mean, it's a flaw. My brain just starts geeking out when it's not right. I just want to get it right. Like, and frequently we need multiple cracks at it to get it right. But I'm more concerned about getting the system right than I'm about getting the check right. Like, the check will come if we get the system right. Yeah. Yeah.
The check will come if we get the system right. Yeah. Wait, how do you're talking about the Inc. 5000 list that
Mhm.
It's the fastest growing
Yeah.
companies
Yeah.
in the
7 years in a
country.
row. Yeah.
7 years in a row,
Yeah.
no marketing, no salespeople.
We had
But
a website, but we didn't do like there's no traditional sales and marketing. Yeah. Yeah.
wait, no. Hold on.
Mhm.
So how? How do you become one of the fastest growing companies in the country based on revenue
Mhm. Yeah.
with no sales and marketing? I mean, all the marketing guys are going to tell you this is the coup de grace. You're not going to grow if you don't market it and
Mhm.
sell. What are you doing?
So this is where I think maybe I'm disruptive, and I have a hard time saying. I mean, I can say I'm disruptive because I looked at myself in the mirror and lived my life, but in this regard, I don't actually think it's disruptive. I think I'm reminding us of universal truth. The reality is traditional sales and marketing are based on flawed principles. And I'll just walk you through it, and you can play along. And I'm not going to bend the numbers. I'm not going to trick you, right? But in marketing, right? Traditional marketing, called the best marketer on the planet. What percentage are they going to tell us is either slightly ineffective to just full on miss of their activities? What percentage?
98.
Yeah, and I've asked a bunch of people this, and it's usually hovers around 50 to 70%. So
Oh,
let's call it 50%, because I know where I'm going with the numbers. So I don't want to like trick anybody. So let's just say 50. So 50% of those activities before we start, we know are on the range of slightly ineffective to full miss the target. Okay. Now sales, traditional sales activities, right? What would you say are on the spectrum of ineffective to full on annoying?
well, now I'm scared to answer the question because
Yeah.
there's a 2% conversion ratio. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
standard. That's standard.
Yeah. So I think the sort of, there's been billions of dollars spent on sales. So there probably is real research, but certainly the folklore is if you make 100 calls, you'll get 10 meetings to get one appointment, to get one contract. So let's just say it's 80%, right? 80% is somewhere on that continuum of ineffective to annoying. Where in the universe, Jerome, I know just enough about what you do to be dangerous, so I'm not going to try to go there. But if I came to you and said, hey, Jerome, I've got this idea. What we're going to do is you're going to pay me to take activities that we know before we start, half of them are full miss to ineffective. And then from that subset, the results of that, then we're going to take actions that we know 80% of the time are going to be ineffective, and some percent are going to piss the community that we serve off. That's sales and marketing, brother. I don't know why we do it. I don't know why we do it, because we've always done it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'm not going to pay people to go piss people off that we want to work with. It's bad business. This is how ass backwards it is. What part of that was crazy other than the guy who said it? Like, right? It's crazy that we do sales and marketing. It's absolutely totally bonkers that we do sales and marketing.
All right, Dan.
This is what Sales Sidekick is a COVID baby. I joke about it, but it is. So what did I do? COVID hits, we're specialized. We do all these events, 10,000 events on 5 continents, a year pre-COVID, right? So COVID hits, everything stops. What do? I know all these business owners. I call all these business owners because the event industry said, hey, man, you just know how to move things and nothing's moving, so you can't help us. That was incredibly humbling, but I'm so glad they didn't ask me to help. I called the business owners and said, look, my problems are horrific, but they're simple. And I've thrown up in the garbage can and I've acted on them. And now I have nothing to do. I just have to wait. Your problems are complex and they'll change before the sentence ends. Like, can I be helpful? And I went and helped as people that would have let me help them. And then I got to a place where a guy literally said, dude, I have to pay you to do this. You have to come talk to our people. I was like, okay. And then we built a company around it. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you go talk about?
Well, with those people, I mean, they're all people that I knew. I didn't just start cold calling people. I mean, we were all, talking because of COVID and everything else. And so I said, look, I want to stay in the game. I want to be helpful. You get what you pay for, but I mean, I don't want to charge you anything. And if we get to a place where we know that we're going to actually, like, we've created real value, I know you and I trust you, and I'm not worried about it. And I'll definitely learn in the process. And what happened through all those conversations is eventually it would get to quote unquote sales and marketing, because somewhere along the way they didn't know. I mean, they knew me and they knew that the company had been successful, but they didn't know that we didn't have salespeople. They didn't know that, like, they're like, whoa, like, hey man, you might think you're a systems guy, but that sales and marketing shit, like that is super interesting. So what we're trying to do with Sales Sidekick is bring these sort of principles to bear, right? And you got to call it Sales Sidekick because that's what they think it is, but it's probably closer to, maybe redesigning business in a different way a little bit. So.
All right, I need my Sales Sidekick consultation, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I got my idea. I'm looking to grow it. I'm trying to be helpful to people so they'll pay me, but I'm not having any success. It's like they're running away from me. What do? You come in, help me. What do I do?
So primarily what we've done, I mean, as an individual, I'll talk to anybody that's dumb enough to talk to me, but Sidekick is focusing on companies around $1 million level. We help bigger companies and there's way too much disruption and they can fall back on sales. So million is they've sort of gotten sort of over the first hump, but they can't grow. But what I would tell anybody, is if you've been serious and taken work seriously for 5 to 10 years, if we sat down and sort of reviewed, I don't care what it is, like, I really honestly don't care, but if you showed up and sort of gave your best effort 70% of the time for 5 to 10 years, I am confident that you have knowledge that will help other people compress time. And once we figure out what that is, then we need to go find a community that finds that valuable, and we just go give it away. And as we're giving it away, we find out as much as we can about those people to really understand that community. And as we start to do that, it'll become apparent what the real business is to monetize. Right. So the stuff that we give away for free, like I gave the business consulting away for free or whatever, like that all that was is it got me in conversations so the marketplace could inform me what was actually valuable to them. Again, it's not starting off with the idea. Like, I mean, it's like you're trying to, I'm not going to try to predict God's will, man. Like it's just bad. It's bad. It's a bad idea. Like, it's like, it's like roulette is great odds compared to that. So it's like, get out there, serve, be helpful, and then see. And then because I'm a systems guy, and because I'm a student of the laws of systems, there's usually stuff that is fairly mismanaged on some level, because a lot of our principles, I mean, sales and marketing is in direct violation with systems. You can usually find some things that are like, whoa, this probably could get fixed. Right. So, but the conversation is one where they're asking you to have it. They're opting in because you can be helpful to them first.
Wait, I see what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy is good. All right. So literally you're being generous from the standpoint of, hey, I want to help you. Then you're getting in, you're finding the challenges that they're trying to overcome. You kind of codify the solution for that. And then you turn that into an offer based on what you were. So it's no different than maybe doing a focus group or something of the like. Is that close to the overall concept?
Here's maybe it's probably closer to that than not. But what I would say is that what I tried to do I named the company Point to Point because I just wanted to make connections, right? Like that's what fills me up, like just connecting people, getting people closer to where they want to go. So you're just doing that 360 times. I mean, you're just doing it 360, like you're just doing it all the time. But as you start to see the patterns of, wow, every person that has this role has this same problem, because the larger system inside of it is just backwards, right? That then what I would do is, and I'm not opposed to focus groups. The process is then you have a champion because you've been helpful to them, and then you say, look, you present the solution to them, and then you still do it for free, but you do it. I mean, I was primarily B2B or almost exclusively B2B. So I always think of doing things like inside of corporations or whatever, but and then they become the test, right? And what's awesome about that, Jerome, because this happened, it was cool when it happened to me. It was fantastic when it happened to other people in our company, when I would talk, I mean, because they had heard me talk about it, but when you feel this the first time, you become a real sidekick. So if you're doing that, there will just be messes everywhere that you can fix. But you have to let the marketplace inform you as to the ones that they're actually willing to sort of pay the price on. And when you're not charging for it, and somebody has to put their own sort of internal credibility on it, that's when you find out if it's really a pain point and if it really moves the needle. Because they might actually be able to get $10 to pay you to fix it. But if you're like, no, we're not going to charge for it, you're going to help me champion this internally, right? It's a whole different animal. Like, it's just a great test to say, is it really that big of a pain, right? Yeah.
Whoa.
So because here's what happens, right? Is, especially with my crazy ass brain, is there's all sorts of shit that can be fixed. But when you get that, you find out all the ideas that are good, but not worthy of the marketplace. And when, I won't use her name, but when a woman who I was fortunate to work with for about 5 years, she was great at this stuff. The first time she sort of got slapped by the market, it was so great. It was so great because I was like, yes, because I want to see how she would respond. Like, a real sidekick goes back and serves them anyways. Superheroes are like, F you, right? They're invested in, it's like, no, like if I want to help you, I don't care. Like, you get to decide how you get the help, right? Yeah. And so I thought, because I wasn't really sure, was she a superhero? Was she a sidekick? And it was super cool how she responded, and how she responded as she went back to work, right? Because there's people that do the superhero stuff because they just want to be a superhero, right? And look, oh, right. And so that's why it's for fun and for free, no strings attached. I mean, a gift, this is 100% true story. We were talking about Seahawks before we got on live. One of my friends, I love, I'm sort of drawn to cartoon characters. He's a great guy, but he sort of fades in and out, so I had Seahawk tickets, four season tickets. They were really great seats. They were fairly expensive. And I gave him the tickets, right? And like 6 weeks later, we're talking and he's riffing. And then he tells me that, like, he sold these Seahawks. He had forgotten I had given him the Seahawk tickets. He's sort of bragging to me that he sold the Seahawk tickets. For I mean, he didn't pay anything for him. So, but like, he sold them for more than even what I paid for him. And I laughed when I watched his face do the math 5 seconds later that he realized that I had given him the tickets. But I love the guy. And you know what? It's a gift. You do whatever you want with the gift, man. It's not mine anymore. I gave it to you. Like, that's the difference. And we give so few gifts. And I learned that because I had somebody break it down for me that almost everything I was doing had strings on it. And if I'm not careful, I put strings on stuff now. It's not transactional. It's just give. And that, for fun and for free, no strings attached, like, that used to stop everyone short. We'd somebody join the point-to-point team. They'd be like, yeah, I just got one question. For fun and for free, no strings attached. I'm like, yep. And like, yeah, for fun and for free, no strings attached. You can't serve otherwise. You just can't. You can be helpful. You can do a lot of good stuff, but you can't serve if you put strings on it. Yeah.
For fun and for free, no strings attached. Inc. 5,000 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
Come on. So I don't need to pay the social media marketing guru.
I'm not going to go there. There's another way. I'm not going to say that stuff isn't effective. I question its effectiveness. overall.
We've got clear data that it's not as effective as most people lead us to believe.
I just don't want to throw that out there. I've been more focused on trying to get good at what we think is right than what other people are doing and whether it's right or not. Right. Seriously, like that. Yeah.
No, but people are I'm asking you what the listeners are saying. They're on the treadmill right now. And they're like, what is this guy talking about? For free, for fun, for free, no strings attached. And you still can end up by delivering tremendous value with a offer to your clients that you know is truly a problem for them, solving what I think are pretty painful things. But the only way you get the opportunity to see what's painful is for them to trust you and bring you in and show what's really going on. Because the thing that they talk to you about the first time usually isn't the thing. No. And I think that's the point, right? It's trust building a relationship.
Yeah. And let me, we didn't rehearse this, man. We'll see where I'm more than willing to test this stuff. Right. So you come up with, it'd be great if other people know, I mean, they don't have to be like a full on, 10 most 10 best well-known people or whatever, but you think of an individual who has been successful in an ethical way and sort of visualize that person and then tell me who that person is. And you need to know a little bit of their story if I don't know their story. If not, then we need to come up with somebody that we can sort of speak to what they did.
Well, let's use Chef Spencer.
Okay, yeah, that's great. That's this it's a layup, man, but that's okay. Yeah, I was gonna like go LeBron or something, right? But Jeff is awesome, right? Okay, so you tell me what part of your understanding of his story, if I misrepresent it, right? So Dr. Jeff, at a young age, through his own words, through the good graces of the universe, met a world-class athlete that took him under his wing. Dr. Jeff was just dumb enough to follow directions and do all that other stuff, right? Reached the pinnacle himself, right? Codified it, and then put it into play, right? I know from talking to him that some of the stuff that you and I looked at, that he shared with us and that at the time that we all of us spent together, he was getting hired to do different engagements, and I'll leave the brands and stuff out of it, but he was getting hired to do different engagements that they were asking him to do, sort of team stuff, right? And so he told me the story like 4 months ago. I'll try to be succinct here. So he'd be hired by a corporation to come in and do the work that he had been hired to do. And he had a program for it and they were happy. And so say the program was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they would be at some hotel. And so he said, I would send out a notice to everyone saying, hey, for those of you that can make it, I'll be here at 5:00 at this, at the hotel bar, at the whatever. And this is the concept I'm going to be talking about. And he gave that shit away for free, like 3,000 times. Right. He's like, the first time I did it, was like Wednesday at 5. And then I was like, well, if you want to show up, we're going to start at 8, but if you want to show up at 7, I'll be talking about this concept for an hour. And then he's like, I would just put additional time where he literally gave the shit away for free. But what he was doing was he was completely just sharpening the blade on delivery and was it accurate and testing and testing and testing. He gave it away for free. And he told me he thinks he did it about 2,000 times before because I asked him one time with some of the stuff, I was like, dude, this is, like one of his shapes is an egg because the egg is the most structural. I mean, it's just like, there isn't a chink in his armor is, because it's been tested, prototype 2,000 times, man, for free. Right. Yeah. Big surprise. Big surprise. A person focuses on pouring value in and then waits for people to say, yeah, I'd pay for this. Yeah. I mean, it's just, we know this.
Over and over.
This is, but then we get a gang of people together, we call it a corporation, and we just lose our minds and start doing stupid shit. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Just because it's always been done that way, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I have not found anybody who I have some decent line of sight on what they did, who's successful at any level, that hasn't paid that way, that hasn't contributed first and then started to quote unquote take later. Like I've never seen it. Never seen it.
Wow.
So this
All
is,
right.
it's a pull system, man. It's a pull system. And so when you play with the system, it's not surprising to me, the system just rewards you. Like it's, yeah.
All right, Dan. We ran up on time so fast. This is crazy. I got one final question for you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing you want the listeners to take away from this episode?
So my personal mission, which we haven't, is to redeem work. And I think the word has gotten a bad rap. I think the place needs some help. And then there is the effort itself, the physics of it need to be respected. But I'm of the opinion that work allows us it's paid practice if we do that. And I think, if everyone is fortunate as I was to have that mentor that said, hey man, if you look at going to work as a place to practice your effectiveness, not efficiency, your effectiveness in at your job, so you can be a better human in all the rest of the place. I think, it would beat working, is what I say. It beats working. So yeah, that would be my one takeaway. The rest of it is whatever. If I can be helpful, I'd love to help you. But if you think I'm crazy, it's a long list of people that think I'm a little out there, but it's okay.
So one more time, the folks who want to get help from you, LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn, Dan T. Rogers. Yeah. And I definitely reserve the right to learn more than they do, for sure. But also happy to introduce them to one of the restraints I try to live by is copy off the smartest kid in class. And I'm fortunate that we know some of them. So happy to put them in touch with other people, make the connections or whatever. Yeah, it's the system rewards that, right? So just want to pay my part. Yeah.
I love it, man. Dad, I just love your heart, man. Thank you so much for making some time for us today.
Yeah, it was great. Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity, man.
To the listeners, your dreams should be real. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for joining the tribe today. We would love to hear from you. Please don't forget to rate, like, and share. Perhaps someone you know could benefit from what we've discussed. Until the next time, remember that your dreams should be real.